You know, it's kind of the same thing with, countries. Like you were saying before, the public state school system, they invested so much money in these geniuses, like, what's the guy's name? Tchaikovsky or whatever, and then they ended up, leaving. It's kind of the same thing with, like, the workforce. You use you use their technology, you use their atmosphere, you come up with an idea, and then you just fuck off. But, I mean,
Yeah, well, that's like I said. Why I think there's got to be limits on all this copyright crap and all this other stuff. It's just way
fuck
too
yeah.
excessive.
Fucking, I made a video about that before, especially like things like Wagner's music or Nietzsche's philosophy or something. I should not be paying any kind of fee to someone who did not write these things. I mean, like, to buy genius like that to me is totally bullshit. You cannot put a market value on a book. I think it might make sense with intellectual property rights with concerns to scientific discoveries and everything, but even then I'm a little skeptical. But definitely not with artistic things. Like, if somebody's charging me an extra $5 every Plato book I buy, I find something real fucked up about that.
Yeah, well, I mean, the problem is that like some symphony will do Wagner's work, you know what I mean, 30 years ago, and somebody still owns that crap, and that's what's really annoying. I mean, it's somebody else's work, they've reproduced it, now they have a copyright to some performance, and it's all that shit. So yeah, I think there's got to be an absolute time limit, like whatever it would be, and then there should be a secondary even quicker, it goes public even quicker if you made your money. You know what I mean? So if you made $1 million, well, okay, it's public domain now because you made your $1 million, fucker. Okay, so game over. You got your price, and that's the end of it.
Yeah, we had that with Eisenhower.
Yeah, we had that with Eisenhower. I mean, what does that mean?
Like a 90% tax.
Uh, what? Still,
Yep.
you're not still not saying anything. A 90% tax on what? Fuck you, old hacks. Either make a conversation or just fuck off.
Anyway, I mean, with usury in the world and all this other bullshit, that's probably the least of the problems in terms of economic disparities and everything. I mean, I was thinking about credit cards the other day, and really, what is the fucking use of a credit card when everybody could just as easily have adopted a debit card where I could just give them my PIN number and the exact same material, plastic card, put it in, and I wouldn't have to have any kind of incentive to take out money I don't have, to take out money where I'm eventually going to have to pay interest to these, leeching bankers. It's like, where did this come from? My aunt was telling me that it started out with businesses. They needed to buy, massive amounts of product before they could get their money back on
Well,
it,
it actually
and it made
started.
sense to have a card.
Here's an irony for you. It started in the 1920s, where the boom, okay, of not credit cards, but people buying regular things on time. It's like the automobile. These things introduced this new concept now, because you basically sold somebody something on time. You rented it to them, okay, because people didn't have the cash. And so that's sort of how you got the roaring 20s, was that it was a huge amount of debt. People had lived way beyond their means because they bought their living room furniture on time, they bought their house from Sears on time, they bought everything, on time. And that's why the whole thing fell apart. But yeah, I mean, it's not good, but I mean, the reason why it exists is obvious, because people don't have the money and they want the stuff. They want their 50-inch TV, and they don't got the money. So a debit card's not going to work because they don't got the fucking money. But they still want the TV.
See, for me, that's when my socialists don't have the cash. you don't buy the product. You got to save up for the things you want. And I don't know why the government doesn't step in, especially a government, we've had some fairly liberal governments in the past, at least America. Jimmy Carter, FDR, Obama right now. I mean, why haven't these presidents kicked in something that sort of prevented these kinds of things?
Well, because they were living on a growth economies. Okay, they're making money. Stock markets go up when you're selling lots of product. Okay, so that's what they want. They want stock prices to go up. They're not going to go up if you don't got credit cards.
Yeah, I read the other day, I hadn't heard this before, but it's so to the T. It's like there's two parties in America. They're both the market party. One is a little bit less market, the other is a little bit more. But there's no kind of socialist, there's no third party that having to do with real democratic socialism.
Well, I mean, the joke is Obama's a Democrat, and we're in this crisis, and he bails out the richest people in the country, and he hasn't raised a tax on the rich, and he's been president for 2 years, and everybody's calling him a socialist. Are they insane? I mean, his healthcare program basically stole from the poor to give to the less poor. I mean, it's just, this is just fail all over the place. Yeah, he's a millionaire Republican. He's not a fucking Democrat. He's certainly no socialist.
I'm from Canada. I'm really not up to date with the healthcare or anything, but I know I don't pay a dime when I go. Last week I went in the clinic, got something removed, and I was out of there scot-free. I don't know how it works down in wherever you live, but is it that different? Is it that unaffordable to pay what, like $50 a month for Medicare or whatever it costs? I don't know.
Yeah, you get ripped off all over the place here. So, it's just, I just found out that this stupid WellCare company has been charging me $34 a month for a prescription plan I never signed up for. Okay? I was signed up through another, through my other health insurance without them ever asking me. It's just complete bullshit. Hey, fuck off, asshole.
Gonna grab a beer.
Stupid fucktards. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah, so really irritating. I got I got $370 worth of shit I paid for, and they're like, well, I'm like, well, how dare you, number one, charge me, and then you don't, they never mark any of the envelopes that doesn't say bill on it or anything like that, so you don't even know you're covered, so I never use the coverage, and so it's like, but yeah, that's our healthcare system, is we gave it to a bunch of these fucking goddamn parasites who were just figuring out ways to steal our money. We got a bunch of private industry jackasses, all these little shysters making money on every fucking thing that goes on.
Yeah, it's in the small print, isn't it? You kind of need to know the legal jargon and all that bullshit, and I'm going into law school in the fall, and it's not because I have any kind of interest in the law per se. I'd much rather do some kind of philosophy MA, but fuck, you hear about these stories, you hear about people getting fucked over, you hear about PhD students driving cabs. I don't know. Law seems like the right thing to do, and with the healthcare bullshit, especially in the States where it's private, there's so much that can go wrong in those contracts that the average person will not notice, will not read in the small print, that it's almost like you have to devote your life to a certain career path or have money in order not to be fucked. What's up, Pyro?
Sorry, potato chip break. I'm waiting for coffee. Uh, yeah, well, the problem with the law is, though, you know, unless you can work yourself into a judgeship or something, I mean, the only way you're going to make money as a lawyer is you're going to be defending criminals. I mean, rich people really don't need, innocent people don't really need lawyers. People who need lawyers are shitheads, criminals, crooks, bums. And they're the ones that have the money to pay you. And so unfortunately you're going to be making your money, um, you know, helping the evildoers perpetrate their evil, you know. That's where
Not
the
up
money
here in
is.
Canada, actually. You know that every single real estate deal that goes down in Canada has to go through a lawyer. It's all dealt with through insurance companies down in the States, but up in Canada, this is the prime money maker up here. It is what keeps people in business through thick or thin up here. We don't need those criminal deals. Sure, they might bring in a good chunk of change every once in a while, but the constant inflow of money comes from real estate.
Yeah, well, whatever. I have to see some evidence of that. I mean, if you're paying enough in real estate fees to finance any kind of number of lawyers, um, then yeah, it must be really expensive to get a house in Canada.
Well, I work in the biggest real estate. Well, I work for a law firm as an assistant, like a summer student. I work in the biggest real estate division in the province, and I can tell you we make about $1,500 per average house, and there are, I would say, hundreds of houses a day or a month going on, and the money that comes in from that stuff, criminal money doesn't even compare.
So who has to pay the lawyers this $1,500 per deal?
Sorry, say that again. Is lagging?
Yeah, who actually pays the lawyer? Where does the money come from? Is it the government or the home buyer or the realtor?
It's shared by, or no, it comes from the buyer or the seller. If there's both a buyer and a seller working with the same lawyer, uh, both of them pay that amount, so it's more like $3,000. And then you've got real estate agent fees on top of that. So, but you know what? When you're dealing with $300,000 houses, you kind of see it in that light. You see it in that perspective. $3,000 seems like nothing. It's what? It's 10%? Or no, 1%. It's 1% of the deal, and it's like a little bit of chump change to pay the lawyer off. But in reality, these people are racking in cash. I guess it's more profitable to be a lawyer up here.
You're a liar, apropos. You are a systematic liar and a phone.
All right, Kurt Cobain. You want me to play you a Kurt Cobain song? I grabbed my guitar. Anyway, how about a change the topic?
How about you change your diapers?
Jeez, old Aggie being rough. But whatever. He's already admitted he's young.
I haven't heard that dude say one thing smart or whatever, so.
Yeah, well, he's old. You know, he's like the old homeless guy that hangs out by the shopping center, and you see him every day, and you say, oh, okay, he's the old guy. And even though he smells and he's a pain in the ass, you don't want him to get run over by a car. But so, that's all he is.
Actually, you've wished me be ran over by a bus many a time.
Well, not recently.